Hello, everybody. This is Keith Salmon, and thank you for joining us on the Million Dollar Story series. I have a very special guest joining us from the UK. I'm in Santa Monica, California. Sara Noel is on the line with us today. I really appreciate you coming on, Sara.
Thank you so much for having me, Keith. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, great. So I'm going to give our new viewers just a tiny bit of a little bit of a heads up about what this show is all about. I kind of call it a synchronicity game. I bring people on who have extraordinary stories of transformation, survival, adaptation, you name it, and inspiration, basically, to show you that yes, you can. Yes, you can. And a lot of times what happens, you may hear the same story a million times, but if you're watching today and you're ready to hear that story, and it's this story, or even if it's my story, you have to be all at the timing has to be right. And this conversation very well may change your life. And I've experienced that over and over and over in my life and my career. So I really appreciate Sara coming on. I know she's got a great story. And what I like to do is to start with an introduction. I said, geographically, I think that this is a really incredible, far-reaching opportunity for all of us, all of you. And just the fact that we're an ocean and a continent apart from each other doesn't mean that we can't connect. So and we are all transforming our lives, but we're also transforming our businesses. So Sara, if you wouldn't mind just telling us a little bit about your business.
Sure. So I help impact-driven female entrepreneurs either start up their business or scale up their business online. And really what I serve is confidence and self-belief, because I find that many women that come to me are struggling to move forward in the different steps in their journey. Like they push forward and then they get stuck, and they push forward again, they get stuck. So it's just back and forth all the time. So it's having somebody there to support them through the journey as well.
Right, right. So you take women through your program, and you call it mentoring? Is it mentoring?
Yeah. So my program hasn't launched as yet. I'm going to be launching in December. So historically, I've worked one-to-one with ladies. Yes. So this year, as we know, it has really highlighted the fact that we really need to be all focused on programs, digital services, etc., so that we can impact more lives as well. It's really important. So I've helped women do that, and now I'm in the process of doing it for myself.
I got you. So, so basically, I believe that you have a much better chance at success in business if you've sort of basically lived it. You can teach it, and I know that that's the premise of the $1 million story. It's a $1 million story. It's like a million. It's not a monetary $1 million story. It's a figure of speech. It's a $1 million story that's right in here, and it just sometimes it's been in there for a long time, and I know that you've got a sensitive story, and it's a story that I would never even tip off to any of the audience, but you can. I'd love to share with people so that they can be inspired, because I think a lot of people may be sitting on the fence about making a move, like you say, one step forward and two steps back type of thing.
Yeah.
And until you have that moment of connection and you go, wow, that's me. How did she know? How did she speak to me? Maybe you could tell us what inspired you to get your business off the ground.
Sure. So when I was a young teen, a stranger left me broken, and I suppressed that pain from the assault for many, many, many years. And it came out in all different shapes and forms, mainly self-medicating through my 20s. And when I hit 30, I jumped on a plane and I moved to the Caribbean. It was that one moment in time where you make a decision and you just do it, because I was really interested in exploring my Black heritage. It was something that was always a question of mine growing up, like who am I, and I needed to piece everything together. And that was probably the best thing I did for myself in my lifetime because it broke the circuit. So I left London, I packed everything up and I left London. And I built a very successful career in export, working for a brewery over in the Caribbean. And when I returned to England, I was met with the demons again. It just somehow just brought back lots of memories. And it wasn't until I was approaching 40 years old that I just thought enough is enough. I have to face this, and I have to try and seek some treatment of some sort. So I was treated for post-traumatic stress disorder decades later. And it was the best thing that ever happened. So since then, I have been building up my own confidence to be more visible online. As you can imagine, the experience knocked my confidence all my life, but people wouldn't know. I became the master of the act, if you like. So I did have lots of successes as I was growing up, but that feeling is what I wanted to get rid of because everything was such a challenge to do, but I did it anyway. And I just wanted to free myself from that. And in 2018, I decided to completely change my ideal client. So I launched Strategize Your Biz 5 years ago, but I served bricks and mortar companies, very male dominated, and I just wasn't connecting. So in my upcoming program, it's all going to be about confidence. But I truly believe that you can't launch a business with confidence unless you've connected to yourself, like I did. You connect to who you want to serve, your ideal client. You gain clarity on where you want to go, like what is your vision and how you're going to get there. And then you build up the courage to keep on, instead of going 2 steps back, you're always going forward. But having someone like me to support you along the way, and only then I believe you do have the confidence to launch an online business. Because you have to be visible, let's be fair. You have to jump on calls like this and you have to get comfortable in doing so.
Mm-hmm. I can completely relate. Everyone's got their, I call it like every story is like a fingerprint. It's unique in its own way. And we all have barriers and we all have different skill sets and we all have just different footprints in our lives. And I mean, to me, for example, I just talking about when you crossing that bridge of, you have to express yourself. You have to express who you are to the world if you want to succeed in this particular space. And I went through many years of being behind the camera and being into film editing and film behind the, directing and things like that, which is very convenient for me to hide out, out when I came on, to understand that when I got into this a while back, that I would have to go in front of the camera. And I had a very traumatic experience on just a scaredy cat level in college where I said, I know where my place is. So, decades later, when I went in front of the camera, I said, well, I don't have anything to say. I have a lot to teach. I don't have anything to say about myself, blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. And my first little tiny live kind of in the basement at 2:00 in the morning was 40 minutes long. So I guess I had something to say.
Yeah.
And I think many, many people have that. And it's like, it's bottled up inside.
Definitely. And I also believe that, so many people have pain. Some people don't express their stories. They don't talk about their stories because they're afraid of what other people may think. But I've gained so much power in sharing my story. I shared my story in a book last year. With other co-authors, which became an Amazon #1, and it was very scary for me because it was just like, oh, here we go, just like laying out my story, and what will people think? But actually, in that moment, it freed me, and I've done so many things since then, which I would never have been able to do as my 20-something, 30-something self. I just put myself out there because I was able to face it and leave it in the past. It's out now, it's in the past, and that story cannot control me anymore. I control the story.
Exactly. Wow, it's interesting. the fact that you had talked about, sometimes you make a big move in your life. A few weeks ago, I don't know what compelled me to do it, but I posted a very simple post out there just to say, how far away do you live from your hometown? Just curious, because I started thinking about that for myself, and I live 2,000 miles away from where I grew up. And the interesting answers were coming in. And it's interesting how, I fled my hometown, like I had to get out, I had to go, and I have my reasons that I've really, really explored. But it was in hindsight, I go, my God, I was like a child. I was in my 20, just fresh out of college. But it was a move that had probably, I don't know if it was 50-50, even those odds, if I would make it. So I think that those sort of like leaps what I'm getting at is there's some searching going on with those types of moves. And over time, people, some from not my neck of the woods, I'm from the Midwest in the US, and we would have Thanksgiving gatherings of 25 people from the same little community back there. And over time, people would just go get homesick and go back, and either for various reasons come to terms. But it took me a really long time to understand where my home was. And
it's interesting because since I was treated for post-traumatic stress disorder, I've actually come back to my hometown after all those years. Like yourself, as soon as I finished university, I was out of my hometown.
Right.
Because you run away from what you know. You run away from the triggers, the familiarities, and the reminders of your story.
Those story points that are personal it does take some courage. And it takes, I think it takes some guidance. I think that you're really serving those people. And when you put it in the right context, it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense to connect and to connect with someone who can say, wow, she went through that. And, it becomes an attraction factor. That you can help them out. So is there a typical client of you? I know a stereotypical client, maybe, or just what do they call it? An avatar, I guess. It doesn't really.
No, definitely. I'm looking for women who want to transform lives. So over the past couple of years, since I changed my ideal client, for example, I've worked with like transformational coaches, health practitioners, and therapists, healers. Those women that are looking to transform other lives, and obviously that creates a ripple effect. And I myself want to do that, and and in turn serving these women. That's what I'm doing, and so I want to obviously increase my reach, and hence why I'm rolling out a program, because you can only do so much one-to-one. You can only impact so many lives one-to-one.
Right. Well, so do you have people? I guess the whole point is to be able to get people to come from anywhere in the world, basically, right?
Oh, definitely, yeah. And I've served somebody in Australia, America, and Africa, and I want to serve more. I want to serve more women around the world. I do also have a group called Get Ready to Rise, which really focuses more on ladies that have been through the same journey as myself in terms of the trauma. And that's a beautiful community which I run with another lady called Natasha Holland. And we are rolling out a book in December, and we're bringing together a combination of some of the members' stories, which is going to be beautiful. And I truly believe that's really going to save somebody's life, or to change somebody's perspective on their own lives. I'm really looking forward to that.
So that's a different group for people with trauma background. Is that what you mean?
They're either treating people. So the examples of the clients that I've worked with, there are a lot of women in the group that offer those services, and there are women in the group that are also. So there's a flip side of it. So women that can raise other women up, who have the same experiences, and women that are really looking for that inspiration. So we just keep on lifting each other up throughout the process.
Right.
It's a
Right.
company.
Community, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, I think the community is interesting. That some people take their eye off of community when they get so busy. And I think like right now is a perfect example of an era in humankind where people spend a lot of time by themselves, and we do this community online and everything, which is hugely important. And the interesting thing about community is that you have people with more experience, people with less experience, and you can, if you've got 2 days into a journey that's going in the positive direction, you can help that person who's got 1 day. And I'm sure that you experience that all the time. It's going around the Zoom room, if you will, and you're going to find that connection is going to say, "Wow, that person has something. They've gone through something." I think it's yes, it's not to take the attention off of what happened,
Mhm.
but it's to bring the light into what you've done to pass through, and not
Yeah,
to forget it, not to block it. I mean, that's what we all are very well trained to do, but
yeah,
to train how it's like in American football, like a big phrase is, it's not whether you get knocked down, it's whether you get back up.
absolutely. Yeah, and I think when you suppress, well, I've experienced it. When you suppress, it causes your body and your mind so much pain. It's so much better to share your story, and it's really uncomfortable when you do. But as you say, you never know who's watching you. You never know who's listening. You never know whose lives you're going to change.
That's right. That's and I think that you're, correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, I'm honored for you that you are taking a little bit of the knowledge that you've found through your journey, and you've assigned yourself with a responsibility in a way
Mm.
to, hey, you know what? We pass this kind of stuff along to our fellow human, right?
Mhm. No, I'm absolutely committed to it. I'm so committed to my mission. But that's the journey that I've been on over the last couple of years, is really identifying and really owning that, like who I wanted to serve and why I wanted to serve them. And I think that's important for anyone that's starting off on their journey.
Right.
And
It's
there's
it's interesting in my workshop. I call the light bulb moment. It's sort of like in story writing. I'm come from short form, long form narratives and documentaries and commercials and all kinds of things where we get to manipulate that story, and
mm,
that's what we do is we train ourselves to present. We have to present our stories in these formats, in different formats, in different ways, in different lengths, and so on and so forth. And it's just really interesting when we get through that. It's not just telling your story. And I bring this up because what you said a minute ago is the owning part. I have called it, actually I've called the program Own Your Story. When you own it is when the light bulb moment comes off. It's not just telling what happened, it's going, this is an experience. It's not like this happened to me. Now, this is an experience that you lived through. And when you own it and you understand that if you can somehow take the power away from it and who or circumstances or something like that, you've gone through it. And, we all have things. It's not to minimize or maximize or dramatize anything, but we have opportunity. It just presents us with opportunity. One of my things is get it on a card like this and put it right here on the desk.
mhm.
And it's not that it's gone, but it looks different when it's not floating around up here and in
Mhm.
your guts. So I appreciate you saying that, because it happened. It happened to me. It's like all these things about what happened to me. I said that a lot. What happened to me? This happened to me. These people did this to me. This happened again. It's like, well, there's some patterns here. So when I say, hey, I have to take some responsibility here, for me not moving on and
Mhm.
moving through, keeping never closing my memory, because that's not good. But Anyway, you just hit me with something there that I had to express to get it. So thank you.
I feel like when I look back on my younger years, I feel I really recognize the victim mode. And I
Yes.
think when you express the story and then take ownership, that's when you move from victim mode into ownership mode. And it's,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. One of the things that I'll get into a conversation with somebody and I'll say, all right, well, let's just start here. Are you a victim? Are you a fighter? Are you a survivor? Are you a someone who's got vision? Are you a innovator? Are you, and basically what happens is, if you say yes, you can say yes to all of them,
Mm-hmm.
but you're not one of those things. You maybe were a victim in a certain circumstance, but you just don't want to play the role of any one of those things, because then you are playing a role. I think that you get stuck. You're like a character actor. You get typecast, and
Mm-hmm.
then that becomes a very comfortable place. I think when the bottom was falling apart, when the world was falling apart, the recession for me and various other reasons we'll talk about another time,
Mm-hmm.
uh, it became comfortable, unbelievably, uncomfortably comfortable, if that makes any sense.
It makes complete sense.
Yeah. It's, change is one of those things that, you are, you're really helping people make change. It changes the heart. I mean, changing, um, what you have for breakfast is a big deal to some people. And so changing, you know, how you see yourself is incredibly difficult.
Definitely. And I think in relation to my business, um, a lot of women find it very difficult to switch from when they're in service-based businesses, switching from the face-to-face to online, and that's really what I want to work on with them. It is a massive transition,
Yeah.
and you have to have the confidence to do it because so much is expected of you online. You have to do video, you have to nurture your communities, you have to be there for other people. So you have to be prepared for that.
Right. Well, I think that one thing comes, and it's the easiest time in the ever in history to do live videos
Mm,
or to do recorded videos, and that's I find that when I can help people. We can all help people. Again, it's about experience. If you've gone through this whole like, well, I can never do a live video, that's too complicated. Well, no, we can it'll be a 15-minute tutorial and we can get you to push all the right buttons, and then it's you. and
mhm,
and if you can get yourself to understand that little robot thing that I'm looking at right now is really connected to another person, that
mm,
makes all the difference. And if we can hold their hands through that because what flares up many times is that thing we call procrastination, right? And it's really fear, and it's like there's 100,000 excuses to not go live, and I believe me, I'm the master of those excuses. I was.
same. I went live in my group. Was it this week or last week? I don't know. The time is strange in 2020, isn't it? It either goes really slow or really fast. But I was just explaining to the ladies in my group, I was absolutely terrified of going live. Absolutely hated it. But I changed my mindset to understand that it wasn't about me. If you're very passionate about who you want to serve, then you have to take yourself out of the equation. It's got nothing to do with how you look or how you sound or if you trip up over your words. It's about the message that you're trying to put across to your members
Mm-hmm.
and what they
Mm-hmm.
and making sure that they're learning something from you and they're getting value from you, regardless of whether you trip over some words.
Right. Tiny little tip to anybody who's listening: if you're apprehensive, just get one thing. Two tips: schedule it so that people know you're coming,
Mm-hmm.
and the other tip is to just hit the go live button
Yeah.
and just hit it, and don't even rehearse it. Honestly, just get in that habit. And it's like, as opposed to trying to do a pre-recorded one because you can turn it off.
Yeah.
You know, and I do that. It's like I'll do a live and it doesn't come out perfectly, but I say what's going on and it's a conversation. And then, but if I try to do a pre-recorded one, that's why commercial actors do 30 takes because they can.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're yourself, your inflection's right. If all of a sudden the first thing that I did with kind of a studio camera, an expensive studio camera for outside types of clients, is you take that blinking light, you default that light to come off when it blinks, because even the most experienced executive or high rolling type of business person, when they know that camera's rolling, they turn into somebody else. And it's an amazing phenomenon. So the more comfortable you can get, the more you are you. I think that's what we're trying to say. It's just people are interested in you. They're not interested in
perfection.
Whether or not you've got some big giant green screen thing happening in your background.
Yeah. Definitely, I think the more real, the better, right? And if you slip up, you just make a joke of it. People, they're humans you're speaking to.
Absolutely.
Up.
Absolutely. No, I think the humor side of it is if we can't make a joke, if we can't have a laugh, um, you know, look to somebody who's having a nice time in and laugh with them. No one's laughing at you. If it's like I think I'll just share one experience for this is for people who are listening. You get this really cool gimbal, right, for the iPhone 11. I was the last person to get an iPhone 11 Pro because of the other cameras. I'd be the last person to tell someone to use an iPhone in the first place for years, but not anymore. In recent. So you get that gimbal, you go live, I'm getting ready. Okay, that thing goes, and all of a sudden it goes, and it's sideways. And I'm like, I'm over here like that. And it's like, wait a second, I'm live right now. What do I do? And you just make it work. You make it work and you share that experience. Do you mind if I share a very, very quick little experience? Because what you do is you set a precedent and you open a door for somebody who might be going, hey, that person came back. That person came back after that, and it's okay. It's okay. I was telling you about my college years of being shy on camera, being shy in the front of the classroom, but really good at expressing myself behind the scenes. But I had like one last chance to get basic speech class because I had dropped it so many times. And so it was kind of getting towards that middle of the semester where I'd usually drop the class, but I was running out of time in my college career. So I got up and did my speech, and I was halfway through it, and I had a panic attack. And I said, I can't do this speech. And I sat down. Yeah. And then I came back the next day, and I did a really good speech. And part of it was because I didn't know what I was talking about the first time. and I wasn't prepared, and I was screwing off like a college student. And but what was what I'm getting at here is that there were two other people the next day that got about halfway through and sat down. I opened the door for them to, I'm not suggesting that everybody just quits like that, but the idea that something like that is like something like doing a live, if something happens, who cares? Nobody cares. Mm-hmm. And the fact that you'll come back the next time and probably, honestly, the next speech I did, I guess it was the next day. I can't remember exactly the next day or the next day after that, but it was the best one I'd ever done because my guts had spilled. My insides and my anxiety had at least calmed down. So I think to any of you listening, we would love to see you live, and you're going to do great.
Yeah. And I know we're going live we're streaming into my group as well. So ladies, I'm going to be challenging you this week to go live.
Yeah. I mean, please speak to your people, speak to, why don't we take a minute here and let's talk about how we can drive some people to become aware of you, because you've got such a great touch and a great message. And we, of course, will share some links and anything like that to steer people towards you. But speak to your group right now if you want, like you just did. That's great.
Oh, bless you. Hi, ladies. I hope you are all watching. It's funny because this week we have been doing like a visibility challenge. So I'm basically offering some tips on how to create a one-page PR document. So by the end of the week, they're all ready to really just seize opportunities they see online in a few seconds. So obviously in that comes, with that comes lives, when people are requesting guest speakers in their groups, etc., etc. So on Sunday, we have the lovely Natasha Holland, who's my brand and visual storytelling person, and also my business partner for Get Ready to Rise. And she's going to be offering a challenge for the ladies. So don't want to say too much right now about that, but we will be seeing more girls live. Girls, ladies, live
Lady.
group. Ladies, I don't have any girls in there.
That's right. So in the UK, we say women and ladies. Ladies, I don't know. I don't know what we call anybody anymore. So,
We are women. That's what we are.
that's awesome. So let's say, if there's anything to someone who you don't know, someone who may have that desire, that burning desire inside to make a change, and somebody who's got various reasons why, they may, I think a hero is a mother who raised their children and took, and the mom and dad who put their dreams aside for their children is heroic, and it's not always possible, but I know that a lot of people even have really higher education and don't ever get a chance to even utilize it. And so there might be trauma. There might be, for various reasons, fear based on whatever it is. If there was something that you could say to them to say, hey, it's okay. It's okay to to take a chance. It's okay because there are people that have gone before you. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I'm hoping, that person that we're trying to reach, who's just accidentally popped into our conversation, might just be going, "Oh, Sara, I've got to find her."
Yeah. So I just want to say the most exciting and most rewarding times in my life is when I just said yes and I just did it. So that time I moved to the Caribbean when I was absolutely broken. If I'd have stayed in London, I honestly don't think I would be here today. I was that broken. And I just made the decision and I just did it. The same as when I had my son. I'm a single mom, and I had my son. I was still in London, and myself and my son's father had parted ways, and I made the decision to move back to my hometown and start a business. Some may say that sounds crazy, but it empowers you when you own that decision. And that's all you have to do, is you have to make that decision, but then you have to take immediate action. And if it's really soul driven, trust me, everything will work out along the way. It really will. If you just take inspired action, if you just keep on moving forward, just find the right people to surround yourself with, find the right resources and the tools, and find that person that can mentor you throughout your journey.
Mm-hmm. I think that one thing that you just made me think of is the, fear is a huge part of life, basically, and fear is a huge part of business life, and either making it or not making it. And I think that one of the big other fears that's related to both of those is fear to ask for help, because you're opening yourself up and you're being vulnerable in a way that you need to be able to trust someone with your story of whatever it is. And so I think that, I would encourage anybody out there also just to say there's people like Sara here that are, you can trust. And that's what our message has to be, is that this is about trust, because what else is there in this case?
And especially in 2020, when there is so much fear, and especially looking at what's going on at the moment, the powers that be, and the lack of trust and what have you. It is important to find your tribe, those people that you can speak to on a level of trust, and who will open up their arms to you if you need them. And that's why I love Facebook communities, because especially closed groups. I run 2 closed groups, and I encourage all the women in there to really just express themselves, reach out if they need to. It's a very strange time for everybody, and to offer my support when I can.
Right. Well, that's terrific. I can't tell you how excited I was to talk to you. And then when we finally talked, it was that and more. It was awesome.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Amazing.
So what we will do, we will make sure that we can give you direct links to find Sara on Facebook and anywhere else that she was going to trust me with her information. We'll put it on the tags for these for this rebroadcast, and if there's anything that you'd like to say, just tell people. Give me one last shot. Try to get somebody to come to you.
Life is too short. It really is. And we all have stories. We all have overcome trauma in some way, shape, or form. It doesn't have to be the same traumatic experience as myself, but life will pass you by if you don't seize opportunities. You have to take ownership of your life. You have to create a new story for yourself, a new story, and always try and picture yourself sometime in the future when you've succeeded and you've fulfilled all your dreams, and focus on that, and then do whatever you can to achieve them.
Sara, that is genius. That's what I was. That is. You just cut that out of the video and put it out there on television, and you'll help people out. I really appreciate you saying that and taking my bait to give me some huge nugget there. That was awesome. Sara, Noel, I'm going to thank you one more time. And my name is Keith Salmon from Keith Salmon Coaching, and this is a $1 Million Story series where people like Sara have taken the time to share her story with us and talk about her business, but really to inspire you if you have any dreams that you're not, pursuing. The fact is that if anybody ever told you, no, you can't, that's for someone who's got money. That's for someone who knows more about that field. That's for the professionals. You don't have to take that anymore. You just say, yes, I can. And you know what? You have it within you to figure out how. And you've got support people like Sara, who have been there and lived it and can teach it and can help you push those things out of the way. And so I have a group myself. It's called the $1 Million Story Ninjas. So I have a little bit of an incubator for people who have never even thought that their story was a $1 million story. Again, that's a figure of speech, the $1 million story of your heart and your vision. And so that's what we do in there. And it's all about, there's plenty of room in this world, in this earth, for people who want to move their business forward and use their stories to connect with clients and future clients. So that's what that's all about. So I encourage you to jump in there. And of course, we will put Sara's information here. And I learned a while back, we're so international. I've gotten privileged to do interviews all over the world except for Antarctica. So if anybody knows anyone in Antarctica, let me know. And so I learned a few weeks ago that I never say good morning or good afternoon or good night anymore. I just say goodbye or hello because this is an incredible platform for us to connect on. Sara, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Okay, until next time, Keith Salmon, we'll talk to you soon.